in fact versus opinion, today we are going to discuss about lack of evidence for coronary artery bypass surgery and angioplasty and stenting in patient with stable coronary artery disease. Well, bypass surgery and angioplasty, even though they are the mainstay treatment for patients with coronary artery disease, they have a considerable risk. So undergoing this invasive procedure, patient have a risk of death during the procedure, or heart attack, or renal failure, stroke, infection or rupture of the vessel, and so on. In spite of this risk, the patient undergo this procedure under the pretext. This procedure is immediately required in this group of patients to prevent a heart attack and death. Now, is there any evidence to show the bypass surgery and angioplasty as definitely can able to prevent a heart attack or reduce your chance of death? In fact, as we are speaking now, there is no evidence to suggest so. In fact, I can put it in another way. There is not even an ounce of evidence to show bypass surgery in stable patient can able to prevent a heart attack and death in patient with coronary artery disease. Let's put that in a clinical perspective so that you might be able to understand it better. A patient who have angina or chest pain on exertion, so he is doing his routine activity, suddenly he found out he has experiencing uncomfortable feeling in the chest. So he comes to the hospital, underwent an array of investigation and imaging technique, and then finally he is also asked to go for a treadmill. The treadmill is a procedure where you are asked to run in a treadmill, and during the exertion your cardiologist is going to see if there is any EKG changes or ECG changes to show there is a lack of blood flow to the heart muscle. When this TMT comes as a positive, immediately the patients was pushed to undergo a coronary angiogram. When the angiogram is done and then the patients is discussed about the result to show that they have a single or a double or triple vessel disease, or the blockage could be from 30%, 60%, 90% or 100%, and they've been suggested that they should undergo either a bypass surgery or an angioplasty at the earliest or immediately. Otherwise, there is an imminent chance of getting a heart attack and even death. Now, for evidence-based medicine, there is no evidence to show in stable patient your procedure of bypass surgery and angioplasty can prevent death or heart attack. Now then, what is it is expected? Now, if you go bypass and angioplasty over your current medical management, then the bypass and angioplasty can only offer you some improvement in quality of life in a subgroup of patients. If it comes to the treadmill, the number of minutes bypass and angioplasty can increase over your medical management is around 90 to 120 seconds. In fact, even this 90 to 120 seconds was questioned in a recent trial, which is a randomized controlled trial, shows probably the improvement in around 20 seconds. So if this fact is put in front of the patient that you've been advised for a high risk procedure just to improve some quality of life and some improvement in exercise time, and this bypass and angioplastic procedure will not have any effect on your heart attack and death. If you are already taking optimal medical management, I don't think many patients would opt for bypass and angioplasty. And even it can fall up to 90%, the bypass angioplasty rate can come down, because 5 lakh of these procedures are done worldwide every year for stable patient like this. Now, what has it gone wrong? Because as you have seen, your interventionist or a cardiologist would show there is a block, and we are able to open the block, the blood flow can be normalized. Either the block can be opened by an angioplasty and stenting, or can use a graft to overcome the block. Now it seems to be realistic and logistic. How come it doesn't work? Now, the basic fact is a fundamental of your blockage causing heart attack and death itself is an absolutely wrong assumption. It is a 500 years old thinking. The initial idea, the block is being equated to death and heart attack, came 500 years before in 15th century by Leonardo da Vinci. So he is the one, even though he is not a medical person, he is the one to propose, as he was have a knowledge and he was able to speak to a 90 years old man who are alive, who suddenly died, and he did an autopsy on him and found out that the vessel which is carrying blood to the heart muscle is blocked. So he directly equated this blockage is equal to death and heart attack. Well, this concept has risen 150 years before William Harvey, who is the one who actually conceptualized circulatory system. So even before circulatory system has been postulated, this theory of block causes death has already started in the mind of many patients as well as physicians. So from 300 years, this was never been challenged. And then in 1960s and 1977, the bypass surgery was started in 1960s and angioplasty in 1977. So these two procedures as well established because of this theory. Now this theory, clog pipe hypothesis or fix the block when there is a block, and these are all something which has no scientific rationale. So basically there is no evidence to point out until today that blockage causes heart attack and death, and if it is fixed, it's going to reduce your chance of getting heart attack and death. Well, that's what bypass surgery and angioplasty did in 1960s and 77, and for the past 40 years, from 1962 to 2020, there are various international papers which has been published questioning this rationale and said there is no evidence to put this bypass surgery and angioplasty in stable patient because it may not, or absolutely there is no way it can prevent a heart attack and death. So the next question is, what went wrong and why this theory of blockage and heart attack doesn't make any sense. Even if what I'm saying is wrong, people always ask the question, if you are right, it's not a single person decision. The decision to go for a bypass and angioplasty is done by a lot of groups. Yes, it's true. Individual cardiologist is not responsible. There is a cardiology association, and over the cardiology association there is a university, and over the university there is a recommendation committee or a guideline committee, and then there is a regulatory authorities who regulate your drug and treatment, FDA and so on. And then even if they fumble, then you have a policy makers, and then the insurance companies. The insurance company is the one who want to evaluate every treatment prescribed to the patient. If there is no evidence, they wouldn't pay. And then there is a government. In spite of all this put together, how could the simple theory, the blockage will not cause us heart attack and death, has escaped and become a prominent way in treating patients with cardiovascular disease? Well, the answer is progress in scientific field. It is not linear and continuous. It is punctuated by paradigm change, and which is extremely fast, and many people, they are not able to adapt to this sudden change in their practice. For example, the procedure. Even though bypass and angioplastic procedures seems to be having no evidence, in spite of the lack of evidence, it's still practiced because the surgeon or interventionist who practice this procedure have learned this procedure for a lifelong, and this technique has been advanced for such a long time, and it is not easy for them to just withdraw it when there is evidence against it. And of course, if the livelihood of that person depend upon this procedure, it is hard for him to leave the procedure. Now, this leads to the formation of a strong lobby. I would consider the cardiologist and cardiothoracic as a lobby to form as a cardiac lobby. I'm just trying to speak about the lobby because I'm directly exposed to this lobby. Initially, when we presented this fact in a meeting with the insurance, well, insurance should happy to hear it because a lot of the funding goes for bypass and angioplasty. If they know that bypass and angioplasty would only improve small quality of life and will not prevent death and heart attack, obviously they opt for something which is non-interventional, like a medical management, which is enhanced external counterpulsation, EECP. This could be like a first line of treatment, and if it fails, and if the patient still want to improve some quality of life, then they can go for a bypass and angioplasty. That could be the better option. But in spite of that, when it's been presented to the insurance company, again a committee is formed to evaluate the factual or evidence against this argument. And surprisingly, the committee belongs to the same cardiologist and cardiothoracic surgeon who are not willing to change the practice. So finally, it comes to that point, and again, it was not implemented. Now, even as you said, all other people, that guideline committee or patients or your universities, they are all side with the cardiologist and cardiothoracic surgeon, because the reason is they are very close to the patient. And it is the patient's and physician relations is much more important than anything else, because the faith has been placed on the physician when they recommend a procedure and the patient followed it. And this noble physician-patient relation is the one which preserve, even though there is no evidence against certain procedure, and the cardiologist or cardiothoracic surgeons continue to do the procedure in this group of patients when there is evidence is against it. Well, could this continue forever? Maybe not. The reason is very clearly, when this was continuing doing the procedure with no evidence, there is another group which is accumulating data every year and presenting the data in all the scientific conference. So the day would come, it will reach a critical point, and then there will be a collapse in the system. When the collapse happens, it will be very shameful, because the physician-patient relationship will get hurt. So now the reverse will happen. The same cardiology society, the university, the insurance, the policy makers, the government, and guideline committee which have supported them will slowly comes against them. And this is going to happen sooner or later, because the data are so huge now, with thousands and thousands of patient data has come up. From 1962 to 1977, after the introduction of bypass and angioplasty, trials have started for the past 40 years. It started with a small trial called CASS, and then ACME, then MAS, then MAS2, then Courage, FAME, Barry 2D, Orbita, and Ischemia. All these trials have accumulated so much data to show that interventional procedure in stable patient will not protect the patient against death or heart attack when these procedures are done over the medical management. So it implies, if these patients are put on medical management, or we call as a optimal medical management, this medical management will provide enough evidence to prevent heart attack and death and improve the quality of life. Adding a highly invasive interventional procedure with high risk will not able to add any benefit over this medical management. Now the reason all this has happened is because of two important things. One is equating block with heart attack and death, and second is overestimation of mechanistic procedure like bypass surgery and angioplasty, and underestimation of optimal medical therapy, lifestyle changes, and other risk factor reduction. So as a conclusion, I want to clearly say bypass and angioplasty role in stable patient is very limited. So the patient should understand if they are stable. In fact, in a consultation, they should ask their cardiologist or a cardiothoracic surgeon to declare them as a stable or an unstable patient. The difference between stable and unstable, as I said earlier, it's like a mountain and a mole. The difference is huge. Once they declare you as a stable patient, and if you are put on a good optimal medical management, lifestyle changes, and control over your risk factor, you derive the maximum benefit any treatment can offer to you. Then if you are going for a bypass and angioplasty, they may not provide any benefit at all. In fact, they are going to increase your risk of heart attack and death. And in some subgroup of patients, this interventional procedure may be able to provide some relief from angina and improve your exercise time. That is also limited. So, as a conclusion, I would say medical management and conservative treatment like enhanced external counterpulsation, which has been newly introduced and getting lot of popularization, should be initiated as a primary treatment before pushing a patient to the unwanted interventional procedure.